Hello everyone. On this video we will be looking at how to add and subtract fractions with unlike or different denominators. Okay. So first thing you're going to do is you're going to find the least common denominator using the desired method and create equivalent fractions. Now, if you're unsure how to do that or you can't remember, just go back to my finding the least common denominator video and that'll walk you through how to do this first step. Okay. Now, second, once you have your equivalent fractions from step one, you want to add and subtract your numerator over those matching denominators. And you're going to simplify that if necessary. All right, so very, 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 very important. You cannot add or subtract your fractions or mixed numbers until your denominators are the same. Your denominators have to be the same before you add or subtract your fractions. All right, so if you're still writing this down, by all means, feel free to press pause and get all of this down. But we're going to go ahead and move on to our first example. All right. So what if we wanted to solve 5 over 12 plus 7 over 18? All right. So first thing we want to do is find the least common denominator and get our equivalent fractions. All right, so to find the least common denominator, we have 12, which is 4 times 3, and our 4, which is 2 times 2. Okay, so we use the factor tree to find that. And you have 18, which is 3 times 6. You can use 2 times 9 also. You'll get the same answer. You have 3 times 6. The 3 can't be factored anymore. And the 6 can be factored to 2 times 3. So we know that 12 is equal to 2 times 2 times 3. And 18 is equal to 2 times 3 times 3. Okay, 2 times 2 times 3, 2 times 3 times 3. All right, so we have 5 over 12 plus 7 over 18, which is our original problem. We're going to rewrite our denominators as 5 over 2 times 2 times 3 plus 7 over 18, which is 2 times 3 times 3. All right, so now we look at what matches and what doesn't. Okay, so we have a 2 over here and we have a 2 over here. We do not have we have a second 2 over here, but we don't have a second 2 over here. So we just go ahead and underline that. Okay, so we have a 3 over here and we have a 3 over here. So we go ahead and circle those. We have a second 3 over here, but we don't have a second 3 over here. So we go ahead and underline that one. Okay, so that means this 3 over here, we're going to have to multiply it to this fraction, and this 2 over here, we're going to multiply it to this fraction. Okay, so we have, just going to rewrite this again, 5 times 2 times 2 times 3, and we're going to circle those two and underline, plus 7 over 2 times 3 times 3, circle those and underline that one. So remember, this is underlined, so we're going to multiply this side by 3 over 3, because that's our underlined value. This 2 is underlined, so that means we're going to multiply this fraction by 2 over 2. Okay, so if we look at our denominators, we have 2, 2, 3, 3, 2, 2, 3, 3. Okay, so our denominators match. We just have to go ahead and multiply our numerators now. Okay, so you have 3 times 5 over 3 times 2 times 2 times 3 plus 7 times 2 over 2 times 3 times 3 times 2. All right, so that gives us 3 times 5, which is 15, over 3 times 2 is 6, 6 times 2 is 12, 12 times 3 is 36, plus 7 times 2 is 14, so you have 14 over 2 times 3 times 3 times 2, which we already know from here is 36. Okay, so now we have our matching denominators. Now we just go ahead and add our numerators. We have 15 plus 14 over 36, which is 29 over 36. So that tells us that our 5 over 12 plus 7 over 18 is equal to 29/36. Okay, that's because 5 over 12 and 15 over 36 are equivalent fractions. 7 over 18 and 14 over 36 are equivalent fractions. So that's why those are equal. All right. So if you are still writing, feel free to press pause, but we're going to go ahead and move on to our next example. All right, so this one I'm using kind of some smaller denominators because I want you to try this on your own. Then our next example we'll use some that's a little bit bigger than the one after, a little bit bigger. So just to get you kind of warmed up. Okay, so go ahead and press pause and try this one on your own. All right, so I'm assuming you've pressed pause and you've already worked this one out. So we're going to go ahead and verify your answer. Okay, so your first step, remember, that's find the least common denominator. So 8, we don't have to do the factor tree for this one because 8 is equal to 4 times 2. And we know that 4 is just 4 times 1. We can do the 2 times 2 times 2 if you want to, and 2 times 2 times 1. But you don't have to factor all the way down to the prime numbers. 4 times 2 and 4 times 1, that's just fine because these two are the same values. Okay, so you have 1 over 8 plus 3 over 4. We're going to rewrite those denominators. So you have 1 over 4 times 2 plus 3 over 4 times 1. All right, so we know that this 4 matches this 4. We have a 2 over here, but we don't have a 2 over here. That's why we underlined it. Okay, in this one, we have a 1 here, but we don't have a 1 over there. You don't have to do the 1, but I'm going to do it anyway just to go through the steps. But whenever you have a 1, you don't have to multiply it over, but we're doing it anyway. All right, so we're going to rewrite this. 1 over 4 times 2, so that circle that's underlined, plus 3 over 4 times 1, that circle that's underlined. So this is underlined, which means we're going to multiply it on this fraction. This is underlined, so we're going to multiply it on this one. So that gives us, well, I could write it up here, save a little space. This one is multiplied here, so that's 1 over 1. And this 2 is multiplied over here, so that's 2 over 2. So this numerator is 1 times 1 over 1 times 4 times 2 plus 3 times 2 over 4 times 1 times 2. All right, so 1 times 1 is just 1 over 4 times 2, which is 8, plus 3 times 2 is 6, over 4 times 1 times 2, which is 8. So now that we have the same denominators, we go ahead and add our numerators. So 1 plus 6 over 8, which is just 7 over 8. So that lets us know that 1/8 plus 3/4 is 7/8. Okay, and why is that? Because 1/8 is, of course, equivalent to 1/8, and 3/4 is equivalent to 6/8. Excuse me. All right. So if you are still writing, feel free to press pause, but we're going to go ahead and go on to our next example. All right, so what I want you to do with this one is, again, press pause and try to do this one on your own. All right, so assuming you've pressed pause and worked this one out, let's go ahead and verify it using your first step. Find your least common denominator. So you have 16, which is 4 times 4, and 12 is 4 times 3. All right, and the reason I did it this way is just to have at least one value or one factor from both of those numbers match. If we have a factor that can match in both of them, I try to use that because it makes it a little easier, and you don't have to do as much multiplying with smaller numbers. Okay, so we rewrite 9 over 16 plus 7 over 12. We rewrite it, our denominator. So we have 9 over 4 times 4. Well, instead of the x, I'm going to use the dot for multiplication. Plus 7 over 4 times 3. All right, so we see here we have 4 here and a 4 here, so those match up. We have a 4 here, but we don't have a second 4 over here. So that means we're going to get this 4 and multiply that next fraction with it. Here we have a 3 here, but we don't have a 3 over here, so we're going to get this 3 and multiply it to that fraction. So we have 9 over 4 times 4 plus 7 over 4 times 3. And again, remember, those were circled and those were underlined. So this 3 is multiplied over here. So we're going to multiply this by 3 over 3. And this 4 is underlined, so we're going to multiply it over here. So we have 4 over 4. Then we just multiply it across. 3 times 9 over 3 times 4 times 4. Plus 7 times 4 over 4 times 3 times 4. Okay, 3 times 4 times 4 is the same as 4 times 3 times 3. I mean 4 times 3 times 4. Okay, so that gives us 3 times 9 is 27 over 3 times 4 times 4, which is 48, plus 7 times 4 is 28 over 4 times 3 times 4, which again is 48. Okay, so we have our same denominator, so we just add our numerator. So 27 plus 28 over 48 is equal to 55 over 48. Where if we convert this to a mixed number, it will be 1 and 7/48. Okay, so that means that 9 over 16 plus 7 over 12 is equal to 55 over 48, or 1 and 7/48. Alright, so assuming you're all done on this one, if you're still writing, feel free to press pause. But we're going to go ahead and move on to our last example. Alright, so you have 12 over 28 plus 9 over 20. And again, I want you to go ahead and press pause and try this one on your own. Okay, so assuming you've already done this one, let's go ahead and verify your answers. Okay, so remember your first step. You want to find the least common denominator in your equivalent fractions. So 28 is 4 times 7. And we know that 20 is 4 times 5. Okay, and again, I just use that, well, because it's just the 4's in common. Okay, so with the 20, you could use 10 times 2, but that wouldn't have the 4 in common, and it would cause more multiplying at the end, which is still able to be done, but this is just a little bit easier. All right, so we have 12 over 28 plus 9 over 20. That's going to be 12 over 4 times 7 plus 9 over 4 times 5. Okay, and again, now we go to matching up. We have a 4 here and a 4 there, so we're good. We have a 7 here, but we don't have a 7 on this one. So we know we're going to multiply that next fraction by 7. Same here. We have a 5 here, but we don't have a 5 over here. So we know we're going to multiply this fraction by 5. Okay, so just rewriting it. 12 over 4 times 7 plus 9 over 4 times 5. Remember, this is underlined, so that means we're going to multiply this by 7 over 7. This one's underlined, so that means we're going to multiply this by 5 over 5. Okay, so now we have 5 times 4 times 7, 5 times 4 times 7 in both denominators, so we're on the right track. Okay, so we have 5 times 12 over 5 times 4 times 7 plus 9 times 7 over 4 times 5 times 7. Okay, so 5 times 12 is 60. Over 5 times 4, which is 20, plus, times 7 is 140. Plus 9 times 7 is 63. Over 5 times 4 times 7, which again is 140. Oops. All right, so we have our matching denominators. Once our denominators match, we just add our numerators. We have 60 plus 63 over 140, which is just 123 over 140, and that cannot be reduced any more than that. All right, so hopefully this made sense, and I will see you on the next video.